talk if you let me talk.
That's why more and more Lagosians are tuning in. 500,000 Lagosians,
720,000,
970,000, over 1 million Lagosians. They know that if you give me your afternoon, I will give you hard facts.
Well done, Sandra, all you do, going beyond the headlines and focusing on the facts.
I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts. Hello Lagos, good afternoon. I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts. 1 million Lagosians cannot be wrong. They listen to this show, so if you're here for the first time, you're in great company. How's your Friday going? I've got a great show for you today, starting with the Big Three Global Edition. Let's talk about Ivory Coast's new points system for traffic offences. Then let's talk about the debate about whether to pause AI development. And then let's talk about the EU's concerns about a Chinese world order. Before the news at 4, you're going to have ideas with Ayobe. After the news update, we'll look back at week 2 of the I Beg to Differ Tournament of Champions. On today's Eyes and Nays, let's talk about what senators, reps members and assembly members do. Let's also talk about the agenda for the 10th assembly. After that, music and moments with Ifeanyi and Sam will take the air. Expect news, business and sports at the top of the hour every hour. But let's get started with today's Big Three. Lagos, I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and these are your hard facts.
The Big Three Global Edition on Hard Facts.
All right, is regulation keeping up with developments in AI? Is the West fighting a losing battle against increased global relevance for China? Those are your Big Three Global Edition. Lagos, let's talk. Every Friday at 3, we usually let Nigeria rest a bit, and instead we take a look at the biggest international stories of the week. And joining us to look at it with me, as usual, is public affairs analyst Chief Andy Oboforibo. Welcome to the show. Good to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you, Sandra.
Lagos, you can join the conversation, of course, 0700-993-993. Now, of course, honorable mention, Trump has been indicted. So before we get into our Big Three, we have this story that deserves a quick mention. Donald Trump just became the first ex-U.S. president to be indicted for a crime. We still don't know the details, but we know it's in connection to the Stormy Daniels affair, where he paid hush money to an adult film star and allegedly falsified company accounts to do so. Quickly, Chief, how surprising is this? How significant is this? What do you think happens next?
Well, I don't think it's very surprising. I think Trump has had so many different accusations and cases against him, ranging from before he became president, while he was president, after he left the White House, issues about, financial issues, rape allegations, sexual harassment allegations. It's run the entire gamut, So I think eventually you get so many accusations, eventually one accusation becomes an indictment at some point. So that's one. Also not surprising, yes, and you're right, he's the first ever, U.S. president to be indicted for a crime. But, think about the fact that, there's been almost 50 of them, so eventually, again, it was bound to happen at some point.
Right.
At least one of them is going to be accused of a crime. Many have been. He's not the first. Clinton was actually impeached for committing a crime. He committed perjury. He lied under oath. Maybe if a particularly ambitious DA could have gone after Bill Clinton, but they didn't. So, so eventually this was also bound to happen. In terms of impact, I think, the thing with the U.S. presidency is that it's always fuzzy. Can an indicted man run for office? It looks like yes. It's something that will be tested, but it's more of a question of will it affect that person's electability?
Will it affect his electability? Now, some Republican leaders are calling this a witch hunt. Some Democrat leaders are saying it's above board. But I'm curious how the public is reacting. How is the public reacting to this?
Oh, well, Sandra, I think it's fair to say that reactions from the public are tilting towards the, okay, sure. We just had this latest poll from NPR, for example, National Public Radio in the US, and they're saying that the majority of Americans, 56%, think that investigating Trump is fine, it's fair. And this poll came out before the indictment, but after Trump announced that, hey, they're coming to indict me, or they're coming to arrest me, he announced that some days ago. So after he announced that, this poll was run, and almost 60% of Americans said, yeah, it's fair to investigate him. 41% said, no, this is probably a witch hunt. Now, but if you break down those numbers by party, 18% of Republicans think Trump should be investigated. 87% of Democrats say yes, so not surprising. But when you look at the independents, it's 50-50. 51% of independents say, yeah, investigate the guy. But when it comes down to, well, do you think the former president has done something illegal? 46% of Americans, almost half, say yes, he's done something illegal. 29% say he's crossed an ethical line, but he hasn't committed a crime. He's done something unethical. So only 23%, less than 1/4 of Americans think Trump hasn't committed a crime, and he also hasn't crossed any ethical line. So that's a very slim number. So basically, Americans agree that this is a shady guy. They just don't know if shady equals criminal. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, let's step away from America, come back home to Africa, where our first story takes us to Ivory Coast, Lagos. You're wondering why are we talking about other countries when lots of stuff going on in Nigeria? Every Friday, we take a break from Nigerian stories, at least in the first hour of Hard Facts, and then we take a look at what's happening in other parts of the world. And for our first story, Ivory Coast has launched a new system for handling traffic violations. The goal is to take police officers off the roads as much as possible and make sure that fines end up in the government's hands. The new system gives each driver 12 points on their license. Each time they break a traffic law, some points are deducted from their license. Also, they're going to get an invoice so they can pay the fine electronically. If they get to 0 points, the license is suspended. If they want to increase their points, they can enroll for driver education courses, which of course will cost them money. Ivory Coast also is rolling out surveillance cameras on roads to replace police officers as much as possible. So the camera detects if you run a red light or drive against traffic, stuff like that. And it uses your license plate to identify you. The Ivorians are borrowing most of this system from what works in France and in a number of other Western European countries as well. And I think it's pretty impressive. But Chief, you work in tech. Do you think that this French system can work in Africa? Do you think that there will be challenges?
Well, I think first and foremost it will work. This is one of the pieces of tech that I am actually optimistic about in general. So speaking about Africa in general, yes. So speaking about Ivory Coast in particular, yes, I think the Ivorians have generally been a generally like orderly people in most things. So something like this works very well in a place like that. Yes, of course, there's always going to be challenges. But I think the issue is, do we have systems in place that will enable us to overcome those challenges in applying a tech? So in tech like this, you always need good systems for appealing, good systems for review. Let's say somebody runs a red light, like you pointed out, the camera takes a picture, the camera, are we sure, okay, how accurate is the camera in terms of getting the right number plate? That's pretty, very stable tech. That's easy to do. Okay, fine. What if how do we account for human error where somebody interferes in the process? If I want to come and challenge it and say, okay, that wasn't actually my number plate, how does that work? If it's my car, but I lent it to you and you ran a red light, and it recognized my number plate, so it's giving me the points. Am I liable for those points or not? Those are the kind of things that you try and work out in a system like this. And those are the soft parts that are not hard tech. Those are the parts that you have the hard tech, then you have the processes around using the tech, and then you have the people who are going to run those processes. So like, it's the same thing that we have with an election here in Nigeria. You have the tech that is beautiful. You have the BVAS and the IREV. You have the process in the law and in the Electoral Act and in the electoral guidelines around when to use it, how to resolve disputes using it, etc. Then you have the people who have to commit themselves to obeying those guidelines and using it properly. And if they don't, then the tech becomes useless, or unless there's some remediation. So it's that aspect that always needs to be worked on, especially in Africa.
When I was reading the story, I kept thinking about Alex. Alex is a regular caller on Nigeria Info, and she always talks about how tech can solve or at least reduce some of the policy problems that we face in Nigeria. What do you think needs to be done to increase the willingness to turn to tech in situations where it could help? However, while I'm asking this question, I'm also thinking about the Apapa port that turned to tech to help with the traffic and the call-up system there. I'm thinking about the just concluded elections where we also turned to tech, and we see how that went, so I believe that there could be a difference between where it could help and where the human beings will let it help. I don't know. Those may be two different questions, but just share your general thoughts on that question with me.
Okay, yeah, I think you've raised, I like the way you framed that question, or those two questions in one. I think you're right to point out that it's, like I said earlier, it's the processes around the tech and the people who run those processes. Oftentimes, and this is something that I also face, at my work as a product manager, and advising startups on building the right product for the right market. Oftentimes, people start with tech first. This is the thing. This is how the tech. This tech will solve this problem, right? Mm-hmm. But when you do that, and you're not taking into account the people who will use the tech, the incentives of the people who will use the tech, the level of training needed for them, how they actually work currently, and how will the tech fit into that way of work and those work streams. If you don't think about all those things, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? You can't think tech first. You have to think people and processes first, and then find what's the right tech to get into those processes in a way that these particular people will work with and work with properly. That's, I think, what is often missing when we are approaching tech from a Nigerian policy perspective. That's one. Right. The second part is oftentimes you have conflicting interests and conflicting incentives. You often have a situation where it's in the interest of the public for a piece of tech to work, but it's in the interest of particular people, not government as a whole, but particular people in the government or in that agency for the tech not to work. The most infamous example was Nigeria Airways, where they brought computers to solve the problem of double booking.
I remember
and then eventually in a mysterious fire, all the computers burnt. Because there were some people who were benefiting from the double booking problem there. So when you're trying to bring tech to solve a problem, you have to first ask yourself who in the organization is benefiting from the problem. When you now remember who is benefiting from the problem, you now ask yourself, if we apply this tech, what are the different ways where this person who is benefiting from the problem the tech is solving can interfere with the tech and stop the tech from being used or sabotage the tech? Then your next question is, do we have ways to protect the tech from this sabotage or from this bypassing? Once you've done that, you now create what we call in tech forcing functions. You have to create these forcing functions that make people have to use the tech. That's the only way that you can get this done. But then that requires a lot of public engagement, the public being very involved in forcing how the policies around the tech are designed and written and enforced.
Lagos, join the conversation. 0700-993-993-993. What do you think about Ivory Coast's new traffic law enforcement system? Like I said, the goal is to take police officers off the road as much as possible. Make sure that fines end up in the hands of government itself. The system gives each driver 12 points on their license. Each time they break a traffic law, some points are deducted from that license. Also, you're going to get an invoice for the traffic offense that you have committed so that you can pay for that fine electronically. Now, if you get to 0 points, the license is suspended. If you want to increase your points as an Ivorian, you have to enroll for driver education courses, which of course will cost you money. Ivory Coast is also rolling out surveillance cameras on roads to replace police officers as much as possible on the roads. The camera detects if you run a red light or drive against traffic, things like that, and it uses your car license plate to identify you. And like I said, the Ivorians are borrowing most of this system from what works in France. Women, call us on 01465 7190. Men, call us on 0700 993 993. What do you think about what they're trying to do in Ivory Coast? We've got WhatsApp as well. WhatsApp is 080 959 75805. 99.3.
Hi, Sandra. How are you doing?
How you doing? What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Shade.
Shade, talk to me.
So when you started this whole conversation about Ivory Coast, I was like, Nigeria, my people. No, and it's not because no, it can't. See, it can only work if we have the data. I mean, so let's start because usually we start these things in Lagos, right?
Okay.
Let's put majority of the people, over 70 at least, on in the data system. Right? Meaning your license is connected to your name, to your telephone number, that kind of thing where you can be tracked. And then also your license plate. Because a lot of people drive, they don't even have a license. Driver's license.
That one did too.
How does it, that's where you start from. So if you get all that right, then before you can now say, okay, because, Lagos has some cameras out there, they say it's not for catch, anyway, let me not do their shit. Everybody doesn't know that what the camera is for, So, but every time I think about it, these things can work. But our system is already flawed. It's already flawed with issues. People are not in the system. Majority are not in the system. Your license plates, and people have one from different states that are not even registered. They can't capture them if they do. If they run red light and all that. So if we get that right first, then we can now talk about, let's go with cameras and stuff. But if you want to say, okay, those are the people that we've captured, then that's unfair because they're only capturing, 30% of the population?
Right.
So that's my take on it.
Shade, thank you so much for calling. Shade says, how do you go straight to that when you have these other problems you have to solve first for a society like Nigeria? 99.3, hello. Sorry about that. Give us a call back if you can. Hi, good afternoon. Hello? Are you there?
Hello?
Good afternoon. What's your name, sir?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name, sir?
Okay, my name is Samuel.
Samuel, talk to me.
Thank you. Let me say, I think that system in Nigeria, I think it's not in Nigeria. I didn't say it will not work because let me take Lagos for example.
Okay.
You saw that kind of system in Lagos. What the first people who would destroy that smile or what they call them will destroy itself. Followed by the Agbo roads. Because there are some people who is their interest for this not to work properly. Those people will not like to work. Like Anadi just give the case study of the beavers in the election, another in the airport, Nigeria Airways.
Ticket booking.
It will not work. But let me go to the other story about USA and find out something.
Okay.
I think these people are just the US. What is worrying them is also what we call it bad better. Yes. Bad better. Look at the recent this social media something social media people what do they call them?
TikTok
case. They cannot even give any concrete evidence. They saw anything that Zucker has done to hack to the US data or something. But they were just all over the place attacking the company that he has internal interest. I think when I look at all these things, I think we need the third word, as nobody call. We need to ready to the way we think about the West. The US, the UK, so the West. It's not make the world look as if it's only one country that produces the whole world.
All right. Thank you very much for calling. We'll take a break. When we come back from this break, we've got more stories coming your way. We'll talk about AI next. There's a debate that AI is doing too much and it needs to be stopped. What do you think about that? Let's talk about that on the other side of this break. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. Don't go away.
Good afternoon, sir. Please, I need a room to rent in your house.
Okay, where do you work?
I'm a nurse.
That means you won't owe me rent. Congratulations, young lady. You have yourself a house.
Well, thank you so much, sir. So, how much is the rent?
90,000 naira. But wait, where are you from?
I am from Akamata.
Akamata what? Akamata in my house? If you know how you got into my house, please get out right away. My spirit and that of Akamata people don't have anything to do together.
Sir, what have I done?
Your people from Akamata are known for bad things. That is what they represent, and you can't live in my house. Just get out right away.
What's going on?
Leave my house, young lady. Yes, our differences extend to our languages, culture, food, and even belief. But we are bound together by the cord of love. With one heart, with one voice, we will make Nigeria a hub of greatness, a place where the people live as one.
This message is brought to you from the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
After so many years of bringing you laughter, Real Life Entertainment is back with a bang with Laugh for Christ's Sake with Julius the Genius Agu at 50 live in Lagos. An evening of gospel rhythm and jokes. Come and laugh away your pains and sorrows of the elections and dance as Julius the Genius Agu celebrates his golden age. This is happening live on Sunday night, April 2023, Easter Sunday, at the Bamura Hall of the Federal Palace Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos. Red carpet 5 p.m. and showtime 6 p.m. Tickets 20,000 naira. Gold table 1 million naira. Premium table 2 million naira. Get your tickets at TellerAfricaTickets.com. For sponsorship and inquiries, please call 0815-646-9480. Official airline, Dana Air. Laugh for Christ's Sake with Julius Agu at 50 is sponsored by P1 Group, Minimi, Hazier Beaters, and Age Well. Media support.
Nigeria Info.
This is what goodness tastes like. Golden caramel, creamy buttermint, and rich coffee. There's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Introducing Cadbury Caramel Candy, Cadbury Coffee, and your favorite Cadbury Buttermint candies. Now there's lots more to share and enjoy.
Oh yeah, there's a Cadbury candy for every moment.
Sincerely, I don't want to wait till I graduate from this school before I think of what to do with my life.
Exactly. I am going to seriously work on my music skills. Let me use my talent well, I beg.
I would like to be a radio presenter, but I don't know how to go about it.
But why is Timmy so quiet today?
Sorry, ladies. I'm taking this interesting course on how to become a professional scriptwriter. You too can also learn how to become a radio presenter on Wazobia Academy.
Wazobia Academy?
Yes, Wazobia Academy provides accessible and affordable online training in filmmaking, music business, fashion, radio hosting, and lots more. You also stand a chance to be selected for internship in leading production companies, radio stations, music, and fashion studios for hands-on experience. It's easy. Simply log on to www.wazobiaacademy.com or call 0908-826-5038 for more details.
Wazobia Academy. Learn and lead.
Bank of Nigeria don't announce change of currency. Make we no panic oh. Whether you want pay or you dey collect money, different options full ground oh. In case cash no dey available, you fit use mobile app, internet banking, ATM, POS, USSD, QR code, e-Naira and others dem take do your transaction. And if you no get bank account, visit your bank, make dem open am for you. Make you no panic oh. Last, all of us go dey alright. This message now from Bankers Committee.
the moment Esther Bewaji pulled out, Group D has stood for drama. Her replacement, Oluchi Akwarando, has also withdrawn. So Stephanie Ame and Olaloye Toluwalashe are through to the quarterfinals. Their debate will decide the group winner. Who will face Deborah Pamzat? Who will face Tanvita Kaushik? Find out Friday at 4 on the I Beg to Differ Tournament of Champions on 99.3 Nigeria Info FM and the next day at 3:30 p.m. on Wazobia Max TV. This tournament is brought to you by Paystack in association with Sunu Assurances, supported by Stover Industries, RLG Communications, obiwizi.com, Just Delight Non-Dairy Ice Cream, and Wazobia Max TV.
You are listening to your number one station for talk.
Your number one station for talk.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. Let's travel to Silicon Valley, where some big names in the tech world are calling for a 6-month pause on development of artificial intelligence. That's our second story on today's Big Three Global Edition. The open letter was signed by Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter, Tesla, and SpaceX, as well as Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple. These two men are saying, wait, hold up, hold it, cool it. Things are moving too fast. Chief, I'm going to need you to carry us along here. What precisely are the writers of this open letter worried about when it comes to AI? AI, of course, Lagos, for those who don't know, is artificial intelligence. I mentioned that earlier on. So, Chief, what are they worried about precisely?
Yeah, so I think what triggered all of this, or they say that what triggered all of this is the launch or the release of ChatGPT-4, which is the successor to ChatGPT-3. And when we've now all seen what GPT-4 can do, basically now with GPT-4, for example, let me give you one example. You can show it a picture and ask it what's in this picture, and it will tell you, okay, yes, in this picture you can see two students. One of them is carrying a check for 1 million naira, and the check says, "Winner, I beg to differ." And there's a lady presenting the check. So it can do that now.
This is what my father would hear and say, "Beke wabara."
That's exactly where we're at right now. And so these guys are like, well, hold on. The way they put it is that this AI is now human competitive in general areas, and in general tasks. So what that means is that for some very basic tasks that require thinking and understanding and figuring out, the AI is now as good as a human being. And at that point, we need to start thinking about what the effects are on society and on humanity. And specifically for them, for the people who signed this open letter, they believe that the most immediate problem right now is that AI can flood our information channels with fake propaganda and fake. I'm sure you saw those pictures of the Pope wearing a gangster generated by AI. It's possible for the human eye to tell it. So they're like, now I can do this at this level. That's a risk, in terms of how do we trust information channel. AI is going to take away of jobs. They say lots of these basic jobs, basic levels of thinking. AI is putting those jobs under threat. What happens to global? Also thinking about all these things which they believe are very serious risks to humanity and to society.
Calling the major developers to stop improving the systems for 6 months to let government catch up on regulation. Now, you were a developer, when started out. You worked on intelligence when you started out. How likely is it OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, the other big player will accept it? Won't they just, these people won't make we stop, may they catch up with us first so we can continue this race, the race to the moon, or the moon wars, when the moon wars happened. How likely is it that they will say, okay, fine, sure, let's do this?
I'm glad about the space race and the race to the moon, because that puts into perspective how difficult or impossible this pause is going to be. You mentioned Google, OpenAI, and Microsoft, right? All American slash Western, right? Now, China is also working on AI. So now, let's say even all the American slash Western organization companies all agree to do that pause. The Chinese are not the pause. They're going to work AI. So, means after you have your long pause, government, etc., lost touch to their need. And so, because of that, these guys are not going to pause unless everybody pause. And I always guarantee you that I'm not going to pause when it comes to AI. So I think this is already enough.
So back to the point made earlier on about your background with artificial intelligence, what is your assessment of these concerns? Are the writers of this open letter being alarmist, or is there a serious problem?
Yes, so yes to both. Yes, they're being alarmist. Yes, they're being alarmist, but yes, there's also a serious concerns. So here's where the concerns are. Like, for example, when they talk about with, replication or creation of images, for example, which, up until this point in time, we've built our entire society and structure around a very simple fact that we can trust what we see with our eyes.
A picture is worth 1,000 words.
We've said this our whole life. Like, look at even now, everything that's going on in the dispute about BVAS and IREV. Everyone is saying at the end of the day, well, look at what is on the IREV portal. See what we're seeing on the result sheet. Now, imagine a future where even that picture of a result sheet, you can't trust it anymore because if someone can tell an AI, generate a result sheet that showed that Andy won by 50 votes, Sandra had 4 votes, and then Sandra's people cancelled Andy's 50 and made it 5, and they made Sandra's 2 votes and made it 200. Now that an AI can do that, complete with the cancellation marks and the Apex marks, like that's where we're headed now. So suddenly, things like photo evidence are no longer as strong as they used to be. Things like video evidence are no longer as strong as they used to be. And our entire legal systems, regulatory systems, are not built with that level of doubt and uncertainty in mind. They are built with basic assumption about those things. So that means if we're going to have this AI out there being able to do these things, we need to be able to redesign our systems to accept that we can't trust pictures anymore, we can't trust video anymore, or we need to find ways to put limits on it. So one of the things that these guys are talking about is what they call, watermarking and attribution. Watermarking, obviously, is like no matter what an AI is generating, there must be some way inside that picture or inside that video, maybe something not visible to the naked eye, but something still inside there that allows us to finally check it and say, oh yes, see the mark, an AI made it. Attribution, we have to find a way to, no matter where a video is shared, no matter where, we should be able to where it came from and who created it, which machine it came from. That's also there. So yeah, those kind of things, those are concerns. But I think it's a bit alarmist when it comes to stuff like, oh, AI is going to scatter our society, AI is going to fundamentally alter and endanger humanity. I don't really buy that specifically. I think humanity is constantly being disrupted. If you think back, think about the invention of the automobile, of the car, and think about all the jobs that were destroyed because cars came about. Think about all the people who were making very good money in Europe as horse and carriage riders, for example. All of them eventually out of a job because of the car. Think about what the printing press did and how it disrupted how books were, suddenly those people who were scribes, who were copiers of notes. Scribe was one of the most important people in society for up to almost 4,000 years. Suddenly, with the creation of the printing press, the scribe became irrelevant. Society didn't crumble. The new generation of scribes found other jobs. Then there's also questions about, well, what if AI ushers us to a future where we don't need as many people working as we currently do? We will still be able to generate a good economy with enough wealth for everyone, with people working fewer jobs because of AI. So it's no longer a matter of stopping the AI, it's now a matter of re-engineering society, creating a more welfare society. I think the bigger problems that were not mentioned in this, because this is really from a Western perspective, the bigger problems for AI I see are issues like the increasing gap between the haves and the have-nots in terms of countries. And so that people like the African nations leaders are thinking about, well, how do we get on this train and make sure that we are part of this conversation? Issues like, for example, intellectual property and how AI is disrupting that. So, for example, before now, let's say, Sandra, you were a painter, like you were a world-famous painter. You are one of the best painters or artists in the world. You are able to paint one painting every year, and you've done it for 15 years. You have 15 paintings, and the whole world is like, we're just waiting for your next one. Now, somebody can take your 15 paintings, upload them into an AI, and then tell the AI, start producing more paintings in the same style as Sandra Ezekwesili, and they will start producing them. Suddenly, you are no longer unique. You know, but now, who owns the rights to that? They use your under current law, that's not your intellectual property, but they used something inside you, your creativity, your perception, your unique point of view, which no other human could copy, but a machine can, because a machine is more powerful. And now another human being is benefiting from it. There's an ethical issue there. The law needs to catch up. But that wasn't mentioned in this letter. So, yeah, these are the things that we should be thinking about instead.
I wish we had more time to stay on this subject a bit more. I think I'm going to bring it back next week on our global news conversation, so we can talk about that. And also talk about the president of the European Union worrying about China wanting to be at the center of the global system. That was supposed to be our third story today. However, I have to give way for Ayobe and Ideas. Chief, thank you so much for always joining us on the Big Three Global Edition. Chief Andy Obohoribo, our analyst on Hard Facts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right, Lagos, stay here, because up next is Ideas. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. When she's done, I'll be back on air to talk to you about this week in I Beg to Differ. This was week 2 of the group stages, and let me tell you, it was so fantastic. If you missed it, if you missed any of the matches, I will do my best, because I'm very nice. I will do my best to replay as many of the matches that time allows on the show today, so don't go away.
Hello, my name is Abdul. My friends ask me how I stay updated with current happenings around me.